Welcome to the Heidi Show, where you'll hear compelling stories from female leaders, creators, and innovators in interior design, fashion, beauty, fitness, food, business, and inspiration. And today I'm talking with, I guess this is more like inspiration/business, but I'm talking with Eryn Eddy. She's the founder of So Worth Loving. It's a lifestyle clothing brand. It's been sold in 50 states plus 30 countries. She's been featured by CNN, MSNBC, Mashable, Jezebel Magazine, Southern Living, and Atlanta Magazine. And Erin's story is really unique and really cool. So first of all, she ended up having to repeat 5th grade. And then she ended up, when it came time to college, she's like, it's just not really for me. She helped her parents at their furniture company. And then she went to work for a nonprofit. And the owner of it said, "Hey, Eryn, what is it that you really want to do?" And she couldn't answer that question. And she came up with singing. So she ended up releasing an EP. Then her songs were then licensed to the Kardashians, other TV shows and commercials, and one music video went viral. And that is what led to So Worth Loving. We'll hear the whole story coming up shortly. But before we hear Erin's story, something that I kept thinking about from her episode is that phrase, so worth loving. Because right now, love is a super cool word to use. And no one would argue that we need more love in this world, but we rarely talk about what that exactly looks like. What does love in action look like? And I really truly believe that it's hard to love someone else until you're able to show yourself grace and believe that you're worth loving. We all have that voice inside us that threatens that truth that you are worth loving. And personally, mine is rooted in performance. It's been that way since I was a little girl. And I'm telling you what, if I'm not doing a good job and getting affirmed that I'm doing a good job, I just feel so worthless. And I know that that's not true. Now, I'm not going to go and unpack all of that today for me, but I wanted to share because the performance thing, that may not be your roadblock to believing that you are worth loving, but it may be something like words from a parent. It may be teasing from peers. It may be mistakes that you've made, and you just think, man, I don't deserve it. It may be just feelings of failure. I wish that I could tell you that I live in that truth, that I am worth loving 24/7, but I do believe that the more that we can remind ourselves that we are worth loving when those lies threaten us, then the more capacity we will have to love others. And then maybe they'll begin to believe that they're so worth loving too. So with that, let's go ahead and hear from Eryn today. So Eryn, take us back to kind of growing up in a small town. We already heard that you had to repeat 5th grade, which is a big deal at that age. Take us back to that time. What did you believe about yourself growing up?
That's a really good question. I think the pattern in my life has always been this rose-colored glasses. So I remember growing up in the small town. Went to this school. I got tested with ADD at that point, but I think any kid in 5th grade has ADD when you put them in a room for 2 days and make them hit a space bar when you hear a bird chirp. Right. That's how I got tested. But when I remember my parents, I remember so vividly telling that we get into the house and we're around the coffee table. We sit down, and my parents look at me and they're like, "All right, sweetie, we have some news that we need to tell you." Okay. They're like, "Now this doesn't define you. You're so smart. You're intelligent." And I'm like, "Okay." And then
you're like, "Get to it. What's going on?"
And they're like, "We're going to have to repeat 5th grade." And I thought, in that moment, okay. And they go, "And we're gonna go to another school. So we're changing schools, and you're gonna repeat 5th grade." And I thought, this is awesome. Because my glass was always half full, never half empty growing up. And I thought, the reason I thought it was awesome because I'm going to actually maybe be average size. Right. Because I was always the tiniest in my class. Sure. I will probably know all the answers to all the tests. So all the kids are going to want to come to me So then I'll instantly be popular.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything was like, my life just got better.
Yeah. And you didn't have to have that fear about going to middle school because that's like a whole unknown part.
Not ready yet. Not ready to do it. I gotta gain some people before I do that. None of that happened. I was still terrible at school. I didn't know any of the answers to the tests, and I still was the shortest in my class.
Shoot, I was getting really excited for little popular Erin over here.
It didn't happen. It didn't happen. So,
but that didn't discourage you, though, did it?
No, it didn't. It didn't. You know, honestly, I never saw it as a setback to my purpose in a new form. It was just kind of like, okay, this is happening. Mm-hmm. I'll go through it, and then the next thing. And I think I've always kind of saw life that way. Mm-hmm. I can endure, crazy circumstances. Okay, I'll get through it. It's a season. But I do remember, like, one of the hardest seasons of life. I thought that was my forever. But growing up, and those types of like little blips, they're like little blips in comparison, I think, to some of the bigger blips. But
where do you think that you got that kind of confidence or resilience from in seeing the world like you did?
I think I got that from my mom and dad because they own a furniture company, and they had owned it for 37 years. And I watched them go through storms with that company. Employees, I mean, they grew their company 100,000 or 100 square foot, 100,000 square foot factory, over 100 employees. They've seen it all. They've been through it all. They're huge successes. And then when the economy crashed, they couldn't get their bearings. I watched them still be resilient and push forward. And with character and integrity and love and grace and compassion for other people. Mm-hmm. They never blamed other people for their circumstances. Yeah. And so they just kept moving forward. And I feel like that's because that was modeled for me, it just inherently came to something that I lived out. It was like, you just move forward and it's nobody's fault. You have to be compassionate and just move forward.
Yeah. What a great example to see that. Because I know, like, owning a business is no small feat. And so to be able to see them go through the ups and downs of that, it's really, really cool. Even though your parents owned this furniture company, though, you weren't exactly like a little entrepreneur in high school or anything. In fact, after you left high school, I mean, you were like, I don't know what to do, right? You couldn't even answer the question. So what was going through your head then? Like, were you just like, well, I'll just go where I can find a spot? Yeah. Is that what led you to the nonprofit?
Yeah. So I graduated high school. I didn't go to college. In high school, though, even though I was horrible at school, like so bad that I had to get taken out of my math class and do online school just for math. So I could have one-on-one with my tutor. And my tutor, on my exam, she probably is going to hate that I tell this story, but it's okay. On my final exam, she actually helps answer my questions because she saw me struggling and she was like, this girl isn't going to graduate.
She needs a little reinforcement.
She was just like, all right, let me show you. And she started answering it and showing me how to do it. And so anyway, all to say, like, I was terrible at school, but I had leadership skills. Mm-hmm. So I was editor of the yearbook and president of the student body and president of honor court system, which is like the character or the morale of the school to make sure it's obtained or whatever. And so while I was terrible at the academics, I loved people. Mm-hmm. So I knew wherever I was going to go was going to be with people doing something for people because that's what I did in high school. So when I was working for my parents after I graduated, I thought, I'm gonna spread my wings. It's like the child that works for their parents' company for forever, and they want to show I can make it in the world apart from my parents'
world.
That's right. Even though like I was still doing some really incredible things on my parents' company, I wanted to prove to myself. So I begged this nonprofit to hire me because I loved their leadership, and I loved what they were doing for people. I thought maybe I can find my voice there. But before that, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Image consultant, maybe. At one time, I wanted to be a choreographer, but that definitely was never.
Wasn't that good?
That's a dream that like you think about,
right.
but you don't do.
Yeah. At home in your mirror, dancing to Janet Jackson.
I did that last night.
To Janet Jackson too?
No, it was to Iggy Azalea, but
I love it. Hey, listen, that's a good choice. She's phenomenal. Oh my gosh. So it sounds to me like it wasn't even necessarily that you were afraid to answer that question, but it was more of like there just wasn't a box that fit you, that you could fit into, which I bet so many people can relate to. And I think that oftentimes I can imagine that there's some shame in that of not knowing what you do want to do. But so many times it's probably not that. It's just like you are a unique person destined for things that are way outside of the box than most people think, and you just can't define it at that point.
Thank you for saying that. I never actually thought about it that way, but I think that's right. That's how I feel. Yeah.
So, yeah. And then at the nonprofit, that's really where you kind of got those wings. Tell me about the question that your boss asked you and how that led to music.
Gosh, that was I felt like it was a tricky question he asked me because I had begged for this job and I was just like, I'll do the grunt work, I'll take out the trash, I'll do data cards and just spreadsheets, like I'll do cold calling. I mean, all the things that I actually don't enjoy doing, but I was so willing to do because I wanted to work there. So I remember we were with all of the people that had helped start his organization. And then I'm like a newbie and I'm sitting at the table with them and just learning the ropes and everything. And I think it's only like 8 months into me working there. And he looked at me at the table at the restaurant. He's like, Erin, like, well, tell me, like, what do you want to do? Like, sky's the limit. Like, what are your aspirations? I'm like, I'm doing them. Like, trick question. I'm working here. Like,
I'm taking out the garbage. Come on, man. I mean, how can it even be better than this? Jeez.
I'm like, if I answer, is he going to see that my heart isn't in what I'm currently doing, and is he going to remove me from it? Like, that's like, for some reason, I went to that headspace because I had never really dreamt. I had just always responded because I was so bad at school, and so it wasn't like I had an option to dream about opportunities within school in the academic field because I was terrible at it.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'm doing it. Like, I love my job. I love what I'm doing. He's like, no. Like, sky's the limit. Like, what's in you? Like, what do you want to do? I couldn't answer it. And I remember getting home, doing laundry. Like, I remember putting the clothes from the washer into the dryer thinking, why can't I answer that question? Like, that should be, I feel like everybody talks about their dreams and aspirations, and I just had never thought about it. So I started thinking about it, and I thought, I'm going to do music. I grew up singing in the church at North Point, and I thought, I think that's what I want to do, but I was scared to admit it.
Sure. Well, and especially with music, that's a big kind of thing because it's like, well, yeah, a lot of people try music.
Yeah.
But,
it's a scary industry.
It is.
Yeah. And I thought, well, everyone's going to make fun of you if you, like, try to pursue music. Like, because technically you're old. You're 22. Like, because that's
music,
old.
Sure.
In music.
Sure.
It's like,
I mean, look at Taylor Swift. Gosh.
I know.
I mean, you don't
come
start
on.
at 11 years old. What kind of future do you have?
That's exactly right. That's what I thought. I'm like, I'm an old lady stepping in. I'm 22.
You're right. Everybody older than you is like,
I know. I'm 22, wanting to now pursue music. So I called up a producer and I said, let's do it. Let's do an EP. He's like, all right, I need to interview you first. So he was a producer where I guess you interviewed. I didn't even know how to do the thing.
Right.
So he interviewed me to see if we were a good fit, and then I started recording music. So I did that at night and still worked for the organization that I was working for. And I started working my way up in the organization as an art director. So I went from storytelling, or from grunt work to storytelling in regards to like video production and script writing, to then brand development and what their brand looks like at events, to then kind of having a hand in all of the digital world, print to things online like the websites and stuff like that. But while I was doing that, I was doing music, and it's interesting because once I started doing the thing that I loved at night, my career at the organization grew as well. And I think it was because I was feeding different parts of myself that maybe had been dormant.
That were coming alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And how encouraging it is for people that are afraid to pursue something that they really want, and maybe even have to still have their other job, that you could actually become satisfied with both in a weird way once you start opening your heart up to that.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so encouraging. So then something crazy happened because you were writing songs. I mean, you were making music, and then in some of your songs you licensed to the Kardashians, right? Like commercials. I know this is probably a long story, but can you tell us the cliff notes? Like, how in the world did that happen? Was that just somebody knew somebody and then...
No.
No?
I wish. It was so random. It was so random because, I was doing music, and I thought at the time, I was married, and I didn't want to do tour life because I knew that would hurt us. I just assumed. And so I thought, well, I still want to do music, so I'm going to figure out how to do it in another way and like get my voice out there. So music blogs started picking me up, and I randomly get an email from MTV, VH1, and the Oxygen Channel, and Lifetime. All these different people, I guess, that manage different departments of licensing music. And MTV and VH1, they were like, they wanted to do my music, license my music for Real World Road Rules Challenge.
Oh my gosh!
Which, do we remember that?
Of course. Yes.
And I thought when I was reading it, I just prayed when I signed the signature. I was like, please don't put my music in anywhere inappropriate. Please don't.
The door closes on the camera or something, and then your music starts blaring.
Exactly. So I was like, because I knew one of the songs was a love song that they were licensing. I was like, oh gosh, I don't know where that's gonna go. And then Lifetime, it was the Bad Girls Club. Yeah. I don't know if you remember that show. Oh,
I didn't watch it, but I do remember it. Yeah,
so funny. So one of my poppy songs was on there, and then the Kardashians. That one I was really excited about because I was like, oh, I wonder. And I didn't have cable, so I couldn't watch it.
You couldn't even watch it.
No,
that's hilarious.
I had a friend record it on their phone and send it to me, but it was a random email, and it just kind of, I don't know how they got I don't know how.
Yeah,
I was doing music, like YouTube videos. I was really involved at BMI. Mm-hmm. So I just got really involved with them. I thought, okay, well, let me get in their roster of it. And all that is an email or a phone call to them. It wasn't like I had to know somebody that knew somebody inside BMI. It's like, it's a treasure that not a lot of musicians think that you can just go and email and then meet up with. So I don't know if it was from their catalog to an online blog, from when one of my songs got featured. I don't know what it was, but the Kardashian clip, it was 60 seconds, which is long for
that's very
music.
Long. Totally.
And it brought Chloe and Lamar back together when they were fighting.
Oh my gosh.
Didn't last long, but but my love song brought them back together.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful for that moment. That's great. I love it. And then one of your songs or your videos went viral. So tell me how that went down.
Yeah. So I hadn't released. I had completed my first EP. Was working on my second. I hadn't released this one song I was really excited about. It hadn't even been mastered yet. And so I thought the iPad 2s were coming out, and this was when we were all like, whoa, it's got video capability on front and back. Do you remember that? Did you have an iPad 2?
I know. It was not that cool. I've gotten hand-me-down phones from my husband from the past 15 years. But I do remember that.
Everyone was like, what's it gonna be like? So a few of my friends owned a production company, a video production company. And they were like, what if we did, and they had done a few of my other music videos. They were like, what if we did the first ever iPad 2 music video? I'm like, let's do it.
Yeah.
Sure. I have a song. It's not done, but let's do it.
Right.
So we sit in line for like 7 hours. We decided on Thursday we were going to do this. Friday was when they were released. And we got probably 100 people involved.
Wow.
Within 24 hours to do it. Like, we had dancers, like people that were like doing all these dancing in the video. And I mean, we were somehow able to get a house that had a basement that let us do like all these lights and music. And it was just, it came together so quickly. But we all sat in line for 7-8 hours. Because that was when, you know, when Apple would release, people would just wrap around the building. So we sat for like 7-8 hours. We all got 4 to 6 iPads.
Wow. And
I mean, I think I bought one, but they all were able to buy more than one because they were like, whoa, we'll write it off. So we did that, and then we did the first music video shot on iPads. And then we released it to the world within 24 hours of the release of the iPad. So from Thursday to Saturday at 12 a.m.,
you shot and released it all at once. That is amazing.
It was so fun.
Okay, so here's what's so amazing about that, and why I will say, yes, I did not have an iPad 2, and why I get my husband's hand-me-downs. Because just updating my phone is a challenge. And takes me a long time. So the fact that not only that you were able to shoot the video, but that you were able to set up the iPad 2 in that time, I am already impressed with you.
Oh yeah, because it has to do setup mode, and you have to choose the languages.
Oh my gosh. My head, explodes. So that is so impressive. But then it goes viral. I mean, you never expected it to go viral, right?
No, we just thought it'd be a fun little project, and we're like, oh, let's just see like what happens. And then we watched the numbers just like boom, 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 just grow, and Gizmodo and Gadget and Apple.com and MSNBC and all of these different publications online are just picking it up and sharing the video. And and what's cool is that it's an original song too. Mm-hmm. But there was like the insecure Erin that's like, oh my gosh, but it hasn't been mixed or mastered yet. Like, no, but it didn't matter. But right. But yeah, I watched it just grow, and then I saw a lot of hate. I think we all want something to go viral.
Sure.
We all want to be known quickly and instantly.
Ooh, yeah.
You don't.
Don't want that. No.
I just saw a lot of people tear my music apart, tear my appearance apart. I was told some horrible things, like comments on YouTube by people that don't know me and that live in another country or live in the same country in North Carolina. Like, just all these like random things. And that was when the first time I was like, wow, like if I want to do anything public, where a lot of people know, I have to have thicker skin in order, because it's going to inevitably happen.
Right, right. So then you did something in response, which is, it's really amazing because the way that you responded the way you did, because most people would let that get to them. And, you know, I mean, I would probably grab like a thing of ice cream and go home and be like, oh my gosh, everything. So first of all, I want to know, like, what gave you the courage to respond the way that you did? And then tell me what you did then to that.
Yeah.
That started everything that you're doing now.
Yeah, it's a great question. I was so overwhelmed by the amount of people that did love and support what I was doing. I honestly, I felt honored, and all of the negative comments made me love the positive ones more, which I think a lot of times in our life, we allow the negative to outweigh the positive instead of appreciate the positive. And looking back, I would not be able to articulate that. Like if I lived in that season, I don't think I'd be able to articulate like I can now. But I was so just thankful that people thought my music was worthy of sharing, because I didn't know what I was doing. I'm just trying to figure out music and life. I had only been recording for 2 years at that point. So, you hear stories of artists that are like, I've been doing it since I was 12. And then I'm like, I've been doing it for like a year and a half. But so in response, I just decided I wanted to create some sort of product that the people that were fans of my music could identify with. Not anything of my name or my face, but more so something that they could make their own. And so I thought, I'm going to tell them that they're worth loving. It just kind of came to my mind, but I didn't have money to buy product. So I'm scrappy and I love crafts.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'm going to spray paint strangers' shirts. Why don't they just mail me their shirt if they want one?
Sure.
I'll spray paint and I'll mail back to them for free.
Yeah.
So,
and you thought, I mean, how many people are really going to respond, right?
Maybe 4, and it's my mom,
Yeah.
I thought it's going to be a simple, small little passion project.
But it did not happen like that at all.
No.
So you put your home address out there for everyone because you thought, okay, maybe a few people mail in shirts, no big deal.
Yeah.
But how many shirts did you get in that first week?
What was so fun was working at my job and coming home and checking my mailbox, because it's like, do I have 1 shirt? Do I have 5 shirts? Do I have 10 shirts? And I would open it up every day and be like, 1 shirt. Or the next day it's like, oh my gosh, I have 5 packages in here. Or, oh, I have 10. And it just kept accumulating. So over the course of a few months, I had done around 100 shirts of strangers I didn't know.
Wow.
Of people just wanting to wear this message. And let me tell you, it wasn't pretty looking. Like, it was like cardboard stencils, duct tape, and fabric spray paint. And I had to buy multiple cardboard stencils because it'd get soggy, and then it would make the shirt bleed. I mean, there was techniques I had to learn. Like, it was, it was so funny. But what it communicated to me was there's hundreds of people that want to mail a shirt, have something spray painted on it that reminds them that they're worthy of love, and willing to wait however long for it to be mailed back. That to me communicated more than the design. It communicated that they're just desiring somebody to tell them that they're worthy of love, because they've never been told that.
Yeah.
Or maybe they have lived their life through the lens of not believing that they're worthy of love.
And like you said, when we go through our life, how many of us focus on the negative versus the positive?
Yeah.
And when you have this much negative stuff and a few things that are positive, that negative, man, that really can tear you down. And so having that daily reminder of that positive, to think that way. I mean, I don't know if everybody wore their shirt every single day, but you know what I mean? In between washes, at least.
It's their favorite shirt.
Yeah. So you would say that people would mail you your shirt, but also share stories, right?
Yes.
Do you have like one story that you remember above all else?
Oh man, there's so many stories. That's what was so neat. I would receive someone's shirt. Sometimes people would go to Target and they would buy it and mail it, and it'd still have the tag on it. So I knew that they just bought it. Other shirts, it was like, this is my favorite shirt, and I've had it for 10 years. No pressure, don't mess it up.
Right.
Can't buy it and replace it.
Yep.
But when I would receive shirts, I loved it because it smelled like their laundry, which sounds so silly. But to me, it was like, gosh, this literally came from someone's home I do not know, wanting to be told they are worthy of love. And then it comes with a letter, and it's their story. Whether it was my father withheld the word love, and where he would never hug me growing up. And so I believed that I wasn't worthy of any love from a man. Or maybe it was one of my dearest friends, she's on our team, and I share her story often because it was one that it just made me radically pivot what I was doing in my career and in my purpose, really, was her story and receiving it. She was one of the first stories I ever received. Her name's Melissa. She's on our team. She's been on our team for 7 years. But before she was on our team, she just sent a shirt and sent a letter. And she had gone through abuse, sexual abuse, verbal abuse, all growing up, and had endured rape and eating disorder and drug use. And and then she's one of triplets. Was abandoned by her mom growing up with a woman at this church that she got involved with, and then that woman adopted her, and that woman stayed by her and loved her and became her mom and her second mom, and so she shared her whole story of like, I have had so much darkness in my life, and like hearing that I'm worth loving. Because I think sometimes when we go through darkness, we think we deserve it. Like, for some reason, we have this, like, in us that we think, oh, like, it's something I did wrong, or it feels dismantling, so it must be something bad that I chose. Mm-hmm. And so she had that starting from such a young age, and believing in that, and living in that shame for all of her childhood. Mm-hmm. To then hearing a message of, no, like, despite all of that, you are absolutely worth loving and valuable, and your life has purpose. Like, if anything, there's purpose in this pain for something bigger and more beautiful. And so, her story was the one that just, I mean, there's so many, though. I mean, letters to my body. Like, I received a letter from a girl that was like, this is a letter to my body. And it was her talking to her body about, this is what I've treated you. I talked to you this way. And she acted like she wrote it as if it was a physical relationship, with another person. But it was a letter to her body. Even that perspective, writing that way was just so many. There's so many.
Yeah, that is so awesome. So, so now you have this whole company because you took that need and you thought, wow, we need to come up with more stuff like this. And obviously, my stencils. I can't just go off these cardboard stencils for the rest of the world. So you created a company, So Worth Loving, which you have apparel and a necklace that you brought me and pin it, and you've got posters and all kinds of stuff up there. And so we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later. But I wanted to kind of close the podcast with asking you this. What do you think would happen if, like, our community, our world, if they really believed that they were worth loving?
That's a great question. I think that if people believed that they were worth loving, that they would be able, I think that we would all be able to love each other better. I think that we would be able to sit in other people's messes. And I think that our friendships and our relationships and our, whether dating or marriage, would flourish because there's not this pressure for somebody else to fill the void inside of us.
Yeah. Okay. Erin, this is so good, and we want to keep talking. So if you want to hear more from Erin, we're actually just going to kind of talk a little bit more on our YouTube channel, and the link will be below. But thank you so much for joining us for the podcast today, and we'll have another one for you coming up in a couple weeks.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to keep going for YouTube.
Okay.
I've just got a few questions to wrap up. I want to know a little bit about you starting So Worth Loving too, and how that all came to be. I'm sure that a lot of, some of your information and like just being part of your parents' furniture company probably gave you a lot of, not leverage, but you just already knew a lot of this stuff about how to create this company. But tell me a couple of the challenges that you faced just initially building this company.
Yes. Yeah, my parents definitely, there was a lot of knowledge I feel like I gained in working with them because while they did furniture, we also had stores where we had accessories and apparel. So I kind of knew the wholesale world in regards to, you buy this and you sell it for this. So you can pay bills and people and you.
Yeah.
So I knew like that formula. Ironically, I'm terrible at math, but I knew that. So I knew that going into it. But what I didn't know was how do I start this? How do I do this with the no capital?
Right. No investors.
No investors. A lot of people are like, I'm going to build out my business plan and then I'm going to go seek people to help support it.
Right.
Well, because it started as a passion project, I still, even when I launched the site, even when I bought product, and when I bought product, I remember it was like 5 smalls, 8 mediums, 9 larges, like I did not buy it in excess because I had no clue how many people would actually buy the product. And I still at the time had my job. So while I was screen printing shirts or spray painting shirts, kept my job. And then when I launched the store, I still was at my job. So I was at my job for 9 months before I quit to fully pursue So Worth Living. Okay. And even when I did, I didn't have the finances to pay what I was making at that job. So it was a huge risk.
Yeah.
So for sure, one of the problems was, okay, how do I fund this?
Yeah.
Like, what am I going to do? So I just snowballed it. Every profit I made, I put it back in the company. Every profit, put it back in the company. New design, okay, it's going to have to come out of this pot. And surrounding myself with people that would challenge me. However, my accountant, I remember, he said, over my dead body, are you starting a t-shirt company? And I quit that day at my job.
Oh my goodness.
He was like, no way. You need to do music. Music is the way. You're gaining a lot of momentum. Over my dead body, you're going to do t-shirts. T-shirts are so hard. You're not going to do it. And I'm like, I believe in the mission way more than I do any other. Everything else is semantics to me. It's like, we can just figure it out.
Sure.
So I quit that day. I remember that. So, I listen to people sometimes.
Yeah. Is he still your accountant? Or she's
Yeah. I wandered actually, and then I came back to them.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
But yeah, so one of the biggest challenges for sure was the financial piece to it. And then trying to figure out how, staff, when is it appropriate to hire somebody?
Yeah.
When do you reach a point where you're like, I can't contribute to the vision anymore, that I need somebody to help me now, and hire somebody. And then how much do I pay them? How many hours do I expect? To then where do I store all my inventory that I'm buying? All of those things are all just all these baby little decisions that accumulated to one big headache as an entrepreneur, but it was a challenge and I liked it.
And what did you figure out about when the time is to hire? Did you figure out kind of a formula or anything for that? Or
kind of, yes. So I was fulfilling orders in a water heater closet at my loft. And my husband at the time, he had built shelving all the way up in the water heater closet. So we just stored all the apparel in this water heater. And I had a tiny office beside the water heater that I fulfilled the orders. And one of my mentors, Jeff Schinnebarger, he was like, Erin, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm making the dream work,
in my water closet.
In my water closet. And I had this little IKEA cart that I would roll out to the kitchen so I could see the sunlight. Right. To fulfill orders. But he's like, you're going to go crazy. You're isolated. You're going to go crazy. So he encouraged me. He's like, you've got to get out of your place and get a co-working space. I have a desk, come in here. And I'm like, I can't afford that. I think it was $150, $200 a month or something. Co-working spaces are now more expensive than, and even office space can be my office. I wish at the time would have been that price.
Right.
But to me, that was that's so much. I'm not even paying myself. And so I moved into his co-working space and he was like, just pay me whatever you can every month. So I could only pay him $25, $50, $75, $100. It started scaling. And then at that point, once I could sustain that foundation, that was when I knew, okay, I can sustain a little bit to then hire somebody to help me so I can sustain more and grow the vision more.
What makes it so difficult about a t-shirt company? Because I've always heard too, like your accountant said, that t-shirt companies are tough. Jim Vineyard is here with us right now. Sorry, we're not gonna, he's like, don't call me out on the camera. But Jim was talking about, he started a t-shirt company too, and he even said that that's hard. So what makes it so hard for a t-shirt company?
So many different factors. One of them is, if I invest in this design, will anybody buy it? And how much do I invest in the first design? So learning your customer, even though you know them, it's still, this could be a flop. I thought I knew our customers. And then we did a shirt in a collaboration, and it flopped big time. And I had so many of these shirts with this collaboration, and I thought, surely, because we're a for-profit company, we partnered with a nonprofit. We get asked all the time if we're a nonprofit. We partnered with this company, and we invested in these shirts, and our community just wanted to wear our message. Nobody else's. Like, and that's what I learned in that. But that was trial and error, you know. But one of the biggest things, design. Will someone like it? How many SKUs should I have on my shelves? I think also you have to figure out extra small to 3X, 4X, like how many sizes
and the range. What do we need to have in stock?
Yeah, and then learning I learned so much in regards to private labeling and cutting tags off or getting tags sewn in or printing tags to single folding, turning them inside out to save 50 cents. I mean, all these little things that you wouldn't think. I would save 50 cents on a shirt if our team turned the shirts inside out before getting to the screen printer to print them. Little things like that.
50 cents can add up too if you're doing a bunch of shirts.
That's right. It can. Every penny. To me, it's okay, 50 cents. I want to save the 50 cents so I can put that into this.
Right.
It's just, there's so many little baby details, and I'm not a detail person, but I had to become one. Mm-hmm. So that definitely was hard in the t-shirt business.
What do you feel like you've learned about leadership in leading this team?
That's a good question. That there needs to be a lot of grace and compassion and a learning spirit.
Yeah.
If there's grace, compassion, and a learning spirit, you can have an amazing team, and you can see and you can celebrate them when they graduate to another company. Even,
yeah.
You know,
right.
That's I had so many amazing people on my team, and they went to some amazing places, Spanx and Chick-fil-A headquarters, and I'm yeah,
right.
That's amazing.
Right.
And Passion City Church, and you go.
Yeah.
I hope you only tell good stories about us.
Right. And spread the word.
Yeah.
Among Chick-fil-A and Spanx.
That's right.
There's Spanx underneath these, so worth it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. You know, at our studio, we have 3 values that we always talk about and we filter our decisions through. The first one is stewardship. The third one is freedom, but the middle one is grace. Mm. And we also defined it as meeting people where they are, because, you know, even as we teach students that come into the studio, even as we have new hires that come on, you know, we have to really think about, but where are they at right now? Yeah. Because if I don't know where they're at, then we can't just go a step further than
so
that,
true.
You know, and everybody's just at different places, and there should be no shame in that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, if we meet them right there, then yeah, there's just no shame. There's no pressure.
That's beautiful. You're absolutely right. Meeting people where they're at instead of expecting them to be at a place and then projecting lists and expectations on them.
Right.
Nobody can thrive in that.
Yeah. And it helps them to shine where they're at. Yeah. You know?
I love that.
Which in turn is better for a company, I think, and students too. We want them to really embrace their uniqueness and where they're at. So,
I love that.
Eryn, thank you so much. I feel like I could ask you a million more questions. Maybe we'll have to do a part 2 or something of the podcast eventually. But if people want to be able to buy your shirts, and in the podcast too, I'll make sure that I have it in the description of where people can buy it. But how can people follow you and follow So Worth Loving?
Yeah, it's very easy. Just soworthloving.com, and then we're So Worth Loving on Instagram.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, and Facebook too.
Great. Eryn, well, thanks again. Thank you guys for joining us on YouTube for the little bonus chat with Eryn. Make sure to subscribe, and we look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks.
Thanks so much for watching this episode of the Heidi Rue Show podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so you can catch the next one, and make sure you hit that bell. And if you'd like to listen via the podcast platforms, you can find those below. We would love to hear from you. Join in on the conversation on Instagram or Facebook. And I hope this episode encouraged you. Don't stop, get it.